Hello, and welcome to today's Digital Dealer webinar. Today's webinar is sponsored by ViewPoint Kiosks and is titled Keys to Selling More Cars with Touchscreen Technology. Today's webinar presenters are Brandy Fletcher, Regional Sales Director in Business Development at ViewPoint Kiosks, and Ann Horn, Business Development Manager at ViewPoint Kiosks. The webinar will run approximately 1 hour with a question and answer session at the end. Please welcome Brandy Fletcher and Ann Horn.
Hello, everyone. This is Ann Horn of ViewPoint Kiosks. We wanted to just thank you all so much for taking the time out of your schedules today to come and listen to our webinar. And we really hope that you will learn how touchscreen technology can help you sell more cars and hopefully increase your revenues as well. So first, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on our company. ViewPoint Kiosks are actually a product of our company, Integrated Computer Solutions. And ICS has basically been in business for about 30 years, and really what we focus on is custom development, custom software development, and our user experience design. We've had teams of engineers, software engineers, as well as UX designers that have been creating the technology for touchscreen, automotive infotainment systems, and a number of other types of devices, including now touchscreens. So one of the things that we strive to do really is basically taking the information that you all can provide and information that our clients provide and making that very simple and making that something that allows your brand to shine. To give you a little, and we're headquartered in, one thing I just want to say, we're headquartered in Bedford, Massachusetts, and we have offices all throughout the U.S., including Canada and Europe as well. And this is just going to give you a glimpse of some of the clients that we have been working with over the years that we've helped develop, whether it be mobile applications or embedded applications, desktop applications, but we really have ranged quite a lot across the realm. And in the last maybe 2-3 years, we really started to focus the ViewPoint technology on touchscreens, and one of the markets that we started focusing on was the automotive industry. So we basically wanted to be able to help the automotive industry and dealerships provide really easy access to all of your digital content, whether it's videos, high-def videos, high-resolution images, and put all of that into a very interesting, exciting interface that, again, really lets your dealership and your brand shine through when somebody arrives in your showroom. So what we want to cover today, and the plan for the webinar today, is really talking about how technology has changed retail. I mean, that's not news to anybody, obviously, and how technology really does impact anybody out there shopping, across the board. And part of that, obviously, is car buying. You all know, obviously, the days of people walking into multiple dealerships and kind of, shopping amongst many different dealerships has changed dramatically. So the process of car buying has changed, and we'll kind of step through a little bit of that as well. And what this means today is there truly is a huge opportunity for dealerships to really take the different types of technology that are out there and aligning it with the new sales process. I'm sure a lot of you, if you've been in the industry longer than 5 or 10 years, have known that the way that cars were sold even 5 years ago is much, much different than the way they're sold today. So any dealers who really can set up their sales processes that match more of what customers want and what customers are demanding today really do have a big opportunity. And using touchscreen technology can really help make that transition much more interesting for the customer, and then giving them a much more interesting customer journey. We'll also take you through a case study with Passport Auto Group, one of our clients, and then in the end, hopefully you will be able to understand and how to implement touchscreen technologies in a few different manners that'll help you, again, sell more cars using ViewPoint Kiosks.
Hey everybody, this is Brandy. So I'm just going to take you through a quick run view or overview of dealers to or one dealer who's already embracing the technology. But we all know about the Apple Store. It was innovative in many ways when it opened, and it allowed people to experience the products hands-on. And because of the success of the Apple stores, so many are really trying to sell like an Apple store. And so we have here this is UGG boots, and they have 4 large touch screens scattered throughout their retail store, and it shows colors and patterns, and you can do all kinds of different things on these interactive kiosks over at UGG. And then we have Neiman Marcus, the memory mirror, every girl's dream. And so this is a really intuitive piece of equipment that it'll capture everything that shoppers try on, allowing customers to see outfits side by side or in a 360-degree view. And it's geared toward the goal was to make the customer experience the absolute best that it could possibly be. And now it's happening with cars. So this is Audi City in London. This is just one example. And they are the pioneers of using touchscreen technology in the showroom. So you can see within the picture, they're all over. The technology is all over their showroom. And again, they were one of the first in the auto industry embracing this.
And it really does mean, you've certainly noticed in, not even just in your industry, but across all industries, that over half of all retail sales are influenced by some sort of digital format, whether it's desktop, laptop, as I said, or your smartphone, iPads across the board. People are doing research, either buying online or looking information, comparing, and even just asking their friends, what did you buy, and doing that via email and posting on social media. So it really has, and even today we're about halfway there. In another 5 years, they feel that it'll be closer to 90 or 100% of all retail sales. It really will be somehow influenced by digital access. So people certainly are using that to buy, but for the more expensive items, they really rely on doing a lot of that research and want to be able to dig in and find out more and more and more, so they're more knowledgeable when they go out and make that purchase. So certainly in the automotive industry, people are now doing that, where instead of walking into a showroom and kind of just finding things out from the sales staff, like they did maybe 5 or 10 years ago, they certainly come in now with a lot of the research already done. But the real opportunity to be able to influence is making your information very easily accessible to them. So whether it's your website and keeping that up to date and accurate and exciting, but then be able to have similar types of format and kind of information available in your showroom. So be able to, by using touchscreen technology in your showroom, kind of helps bridge that gap as they're going, from their home or their office, sitting somewhere on their smartphone and looking into information, that when they then walk into your showroom, they're seeing a similar type of availability of that same touchscreen technology. So they're able to use that, and then you're making kind of your brand and your story consistent to them, which immediately when they walk in and they start to see and recognize things, that helps build that trust just from the very get-go.
Okay, so we all know that just a few short years ago, customers were visiting 5 dealerships before purchasing, and that was the norm. Well, everything is changing so rapidly, and we have to keep up. Now, it's 1.3 dealerships that the consumer is visiting. And so in other words, that means you have one opportunity to really impress your customer and get them to stay there at your dealership. You have one chance. And, back in 2003, you had 5 chances, and, or they visited 5 dealerships. So, and now it's just 1.3. So as you can see, it's just, really dwindling down. When they show up, that means they're ready to buy right then and there.
And although, as we said, obviously a lot of people are shopping online and doing all that research, but when it still comes to cars, most people are still, doing the actual sale, buying it from the dealership. So they all eventually end up coming into the dealership for a lot of different reasons. One of the first things, obviously, is some of the more difficult questions or information that they haven't been able to research, or they just want to hear it again specifically. Sometimes when you're doing research, you got a lot of different information coming from different angles. They want to hear it from somebody they consider experts. So when they walk in the door, they want to be able to make sure that your staff are the ones that know the most information, and they want to again buy from somebody they trust, and in doing makes them feel comfortable in going through with the purchase. And certainly even just a physical experience. When they come into your showroom, they see everything, they can see the colors, they can get into the vehicles, whether they're doing a test drive or just kind of looking at the vehicles and maybe in your showroom, and being able to kind of access that visually and being able to touch things, that really makes a difference. So being able to obviously still have that dealership is key in today's market for them to come in and actually make the final sale there. But when they walk in that door, as Brandy said, you've got kind of that one shot to make it where they're going to stay in your dealership, and that really comes from establishing that trust from the very first contact and making them feel that this experience is one that they want to continue and then hopefully repeat as a loyal customer down the road.
And so what do customers want? Well, they want more convenient test drives with no pressure, and they want to spend less time at the dealership, and they really want to be able to spend, do all the paperwork, do all of that busy work that takes so much time. They want to be able to do that online. And then let's see here. They want more power in negotiations. So they want to feel like it's a collaborative experience where it's not perceived that the sales agent has the more control over the buyer. So they just want to be able to, they want power in negotiations, and they want a shared collaborative experience. So here we have a quote this is from the president of Auto Trader, and he says, while there is good work going on right now to adapt decades-old sales processes, consumers are telling us that we are an industry not moving fast enough. So by recognizing and embracing the need for change, we have a tremendous opportunity to surprise and delight our customers.
So the real opportunity that we see, especially in the auto industry, is that as the buying behavior changes, it really does offer the dealer a way to to make that experience much better. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these surveys where people are saying 72% of people would visit more dealerships more often if the buying process were improved. They'd actually enjoy coming into dealerships, where 66% would be more likely to buy from a dealership that offers preferred experience. I mean, I've had many friends that when they go in and they've got that 1.3 or the 2 dealerships that they may have visited, and it's always the experience that really drives them to make that final purchase. I mean, as you all know, so the more that the overall experience is exciting and interesting and pleasurable for clients coming in, that is where they're going to end up buying. And it even says to the point 56% would buy a vehicle more often if the process wasn't so difficult. I mean, that sets up such a huge opportunity for dealerships that being able to get that much of an increase would the amount of additional cars and vehicles that would be sold is amazing. So one of the things to help do that is we feel certainly implementing touchscreen technology that gives you that difference, that gives you that extra edge when a customer is walking into your dealership. So next, Brandy is going to now walk us through a case study of Passport Auto Group. They are a client of ours based in Maryland area, and they have been extremely successful in implementing our touchscreen technology. They started with one dealership and have really increased their exposure into many of their dealerships. So I'll kind of walk you through what they did and how it's worked for them.
So Passport Auto Group, like Ann said, they're a really great partner, and they are a dealer group that pretty much did everything right. Everything that they could possibly do to improve their customer experience, they did it. And so they have my respect, and they're definitely forward-thinking dealers, and they really worked hard. It wasn't easy to build this entire new process and it's very intimidating to make the purchase and move forward with building your showroom into a digital showroom. So there's a lot of steps involved. But the goal of Passport Auto Group, they wanted to improve the customer journey, and they wanted to make the sales process engaging, consistent, and efficient. So, and they wanted to do all of this around their brand new, beautiful, state-of-the-art showroom floor. They wanted to create a digital experience in that brand new showroom, and that's exactly what we did. So after countless conversations and consulting, these were their goals, and we met every single one of them, and they are a very happy customer. So the new passport process, and you may like this vision, or you may have your own vision. So this is just one example of what one dealership did, or one dealer group. So the first thing that we did is we created a welcome screen within the dealership, or I'm sorry, within the kiosk. And using the technology, the sales agent, they'll walk up to the kiosk and they'll do a 3 to 5 minute mini presentation about the dealership. So in essence, they're selling the dealership before even trying to sell the vehicle. And here, the next phase you see is the discovery. And so in the discovery phase, here the sales agent will walk through the videos, they'll look at images, they'll evaluate needs. And during this phase, they're really beginning to build that rapport with the customer. They're getting to know the dealership, and then hopefully, if all goes well, the next phase would be the test drive. And then, but what you're noticing here is during the welcome and discovery, the walls are beginning to drop. The customer's feeling, more at ease, and they're not so guarded, and that's because of the welcome and the discovery. And then test drive, and then the purchase of the vehicle, and then the delivery. And so again, there's another 3 to 5 minute mini presentation in the delivery phase. And here what you see, this is an example of a screenshot of our cover flow. And this has been totally customized for Passport Toyota. And our designers build it out very similarly to your website. So when a customer's at home and they're looking at your inventory online, they're browsing through your website, and they're getting that impression of your dealership, once they come into the store and they walk over to the kiosk, they're going to have a very similar experience, so that it's consistent, and that they're at home and doing their research online, and then coming into the showroom, seeing the kiosk, and then doing additional research from the kiosk itself. And here's the actual kiosk. That's me, and you can see me pointing "Why buy here?" And so when you click into that tab, that's where you go. That's where the sales agent will go into a 3 to 5 minute mini presentation, selling the dealership before even getting into vehicles, building rapport, making that connection with the customer, and then really impressing and dazzling the customer. I mean, this is a very impressive piece of hardware right here, and when a sales agent walks up to it and they're using it and they're, flipping through the tabs and they're going through the cover flow, it's very impressive, and so the sales agent is now perceived as the expert. And this is really great because nobody else, I guarantee you, no other dealers are doing this. No other sales agent are really taking the time to do a walkthrough about the dealership, about the great charity, events that they're doing, and just talking about the great things about that dealership. So here's the "Why buy here" that I just explained. And so again, in this tab, you want to talk about the dealership and what sets you apart from the rest. Why would your customer buy from you and not your competitor? And so here we have, this is Brandon, and he's our star presenter. So when I was over in Maryland and I was in their consulting and training, I trained their entire sales team and their management team. And this is Brandon here. He did such a great job. His 3 to 5 minute presentation, he was just a star. And I was told that they actually had a sales presentation competition. So whoever, they would all have to compete and do their mini presentation, and then whoever won apparently got $100. And I don't know who won, but I'm guessing that it was Brandon. And so then in the "Why buy here" tab, you want to introduce the service team, and you get the customer acquainted with your staff there so they feel more comfortable. And then you talk about the charity events, and you really just brag about your dealership. What are all the great things about your dealership? And you go over customer reviews. So these are Passport Toyota's reviews, and 5 stars, 4.5 out of 5 stars. So you really want to highlight that to the customer that you're talking to. And then another important piece of the puzzle, after the why buy here, you're going to check your customer in. So the sales agent, instead of interrupting the selling process, having to walk over to a computer at a desk and log the customer in that way, by checking in directly from the kiosk, you're not going to interrupt the sales process, and the customer is feeling less guarded, and they're more open to giving you private information, their first and last name, their email. And so there's so many different benefits to having a check-in center. For one, when the customer enters their information, it will then send that information to CRM, and the CRM will do a quick search to see if that's a pre-existing customer. And then, but most importantly with the check-in center, again, it just eliminates the need to stop the shopping process or interrupt it by having to walk over to a desk and log it in. That could make the customer defensive. And then other benefits are, during the service, or if a customer is sitting in the service area and they walk over to the kiosk, they can check in that way. And then really busy days, like busy Saturdays, the customer checks in and it will actually alert the management that a customer is waiting. So those are just a few of the benefits just for this check-in. So then after why buy here and then the check-in, the sales agent will then walk the customer through the discovery phase. And here they're going to browse videos, they're going to look at images, they're going to then go ahead and look at inventory, and it's a learning process. So they're going to go through all these tabs and they're going to check out the accessories, they're going to watch how-to videos. The how-to videos are great to learn how to pair your Bluetooth. It's just a wealth of information. And then also compare models, different packages. And we've heard lots of testimonials coming from dealerships that customers will browse and look and compare packages, and then lo and behold, next thing you know, they're ready to buy. So then after the why buy here, the check-in, and the discovery phase, hopefully the customer has purchased the car. And then the sales agent will then walk the customer back over to the kiosk, and they'll do one final 3 to 5 minute mini presentation. And I consider this to be the most important. It's important because the sales agent, they're going to talk about the CSI survey, and they're going to ask the customer, would you mind filling this out? You're going to see it on the right here, the survey. I know all the dealerships know what this is. Super important. It could mean thousands and thousands of dollars to a dealership. If you can boost those CSI grades up, then that could mean the difference between bonuses and money to the dealership. So, and we've seen those grades go up after implementing this new process. So the customer will see the survey and they will make that commitment to fill it out, providing or marking truly exceptional service. And then the second part of the delivery phase is to, after the survey, then you will walk the customer through the service department and then take that customer over to meet the service manager and then make that initial appointment. So then now the customer has made their first service appointment. Now once you become a ViewPoint partner, we offer the training and consulting. It's absolutely imperative to do that final step, to go into the dealership, train your team, train your sales agent and how to use it. As you can see, I'm sitting there in the chair, and this is a group of 3 that I'm training. And the purpose of the training is you just want to make sure that the sales agents, they know how to navigate through the kiosk, they know where the how-to videos are, they know how to browse inventory, they know how to navigate really flawlessly And we want them to become experts on the kiosk because then they are viewed as experts by the customer. And so then on the right side here, this is Sun Toyota, and that's training going on. The manager there is training their entire sales staff. And so once you become a ViewPoint customer partner, you can be, rest assured that you're going to get regular reports. So this is a report from Passport Toyota, and as you can see, it's 18,500 events. Events are defined as click-throughs anytime you look at a video or movie or any of that, and so you can see that that's a lot of usage. And granted, it is a Toyota dealership, so they are going to get a lot of usage. You might be a little lower with an off-brand, but you can see that it's definitely getting used. It's not going to just sit in the showroom. Customers are using it, the sales agents are using it, management team uses it. It can be used for internal training as well. And so here's another report, and this could be very valuable information to a GM to know that, for example, the Camrys were the highest viewed, 95 views, and that's from August 23rd to September 22nd. And having this feedback would help narrow down what's most popular and what your customers are mostly interested in, as well as help measure the effectiveness of your ad spend. So let's talk about success. Passport Auto Group, they were very successful. Within the first week, they were already 50% up on ROI. So they've already paid for their investment 50%, and by the end of the month, they completely paid for their investment. So, and then what's really amazing is that there's this bound service business. So as I mentioned earlier, you have somebody sitting in the service department, they see the kiosk, they get up, instead of browsing their iPhones or their smartphones or whatever, browsing Facebook, posting, they're getting up and they're interacting with the kiosk. So customers who were previously not really in the market to purchase see the kiosk, walk up over to it, and then suddenly they're interested and they purchase a car. So they sold 7 new vehicles to people who came in for service over 3 weeks, and then paid for their investment in just 3 weeks. So that's going to conclude the Passport case study, and I'm going to hand it back over to Ann.
Thank you, Brandy. And we just wanted to show a few other successful clients as well. I mean, obviously, Passport Auto Group has been an excellent example of how they've been able to, have that success not only in one of their dealerships, but then, replicate that and duplicate it across a number of their dealerships in their auto group. Some of the others that we've been working with now, Sun Toyota down in Florida, basically saying they sold their first car from the ViewPoint kiosk. Also, pretty quickly once they installed it, and they said, somebody had just literally walked up to the kiosk, started interacting with it. Again, because it's so intuitive and user-friendly, people know that you just walk up to it and they can start looking at it. And he started doing comparisons between 2 of the different Avalons, and he said, he picked one out and said, okay, great, that's the one I want, and sat down and purchased it. So they felt that certainly the ViewPoint kiosk was such a huge part of having a customer come in and having an amazing experience and purchasing their car and selecting their car, that they've also started expanding the use of the ViewPoint kiosks in their dealership. Another very satisfied client is Volvo of Southborough in the Massachusetts area. Same thing, they found actually a little bit more success even in their service waiting area. They've got probably 6 or 7 kiosks throughout their entire dealership, in their showroom, next to each of their vehicles in their showroom, so somebody can come up, and look at a specific vehicle and actually go to the kiosk and get detailed information about that particular car. But they also have one in their service area, and they had people just start interacting with it again, and next thing you know, they're looking up inventory listings, looking at specific cars. They started asking questions more about, potentially a new car or previously, owned car, and they said, and the next thing you know, they started, being able to close more sales from, clients that were just in their service waiting area, working on, their existing car. So they have found, amazing success using the kiosk both from their own staff utilizing it and collaborating with clients, but then also clients just interacting with themselves. So these are just some of the examples that our clients have been using it and implementing it in their manner. But we know that all of you have different ways of doing your business, different ways of running your dealerships. So the real question is kind of, what's your vision? Where would you want to use it? How would you want to implement ViewPoint touchscreen technology? It can be based on looking at different locations, whether you want something more in your showroom, if you're trying to kind of upgrade what your showroom looks, the look and feel of your showroom, or trying to increase your service business, being able to showcase a lot of the service capabilities that your entire service team has. Or like Brandy had mentioned for Passport, is that delivery piece, being able to have a consistent, way of taking somebody through the entire delivery process and them feeling very confident and satisfied with that sale when they drive the car off the lot. And being able to use touchscreen, again, to connect into different aspects of your business, whether you're connecting into your inventory feeds and making that information available, whether you're connecting that into your CRMs when people do either self-check-in or check-in with one of your sales or service agents, that's automatically connected into your CRM. And I think some of the pictures showed there too is using a kiosk for internal training. Whether it's a day when maybe there's not as much business and your sales staff can actually go over and kind of use it as a background to kind of refresh their memory on some of the newer technology. I mean, obviously, every new year when all the new models come out, there's a lot of new technology to learn, and this is a great way of doing it, being able to kind of have that capability, have all that information in one place. So the experience really is both twofold from the self-guided capabilities of when clients come in and customers come in the door, they can go up to it themselves and interact with it, but it also is a very important collaborative tool that your sales and service staff can both use as well in having that relationship, building that relationship with that particular customer or client. And some other ways that some of our customers and more and more interest that we're getting too is using it for off-site marketing, being able to use that to increase leads, whether they're putting a kiosk in a mall. We're working with the client now in an Atlanta mall where we're putting in one of their high-end luxury brand vehicles with a kiosk next to it, really just focusing on all that information on the kiosk is really focused on that one particular car, tells a little bit of information about the dealership, and then allows them to connect in and either schedule a test drive, schedule to have somebody call them or send them more information. But it's just, again, a way for a very low-pressure, meaningful way of having a client come up and be like, cool, I can learn more information about this new car, this new vehicle by, a really interesting touchscreen, method of doing it. And then Brandy had shown you too is some of the being able to use this for kind of off-site community events, whether you're involved in golf outings or some sort of a 5 or 10K race, and being able to take a kiosk and take it to an event and really showcase information about your dealership. If you're sponsoring something or you're involved in something, be able to use that in a cool way that captures people's attention and and again help create new leads for you. So really what we're trying to help you do is help realize your vision with touchscreen technology, and helping to do that where, Brandy, can you advance the slide? If you are using the kiosk, and kind of looking at the different pain points, whether you're trying to sell more service and sell information, or be able to make accessories more visible and showing there, or again in a crowded, that is a very crowded showroom, being able to have people walk up to it when a sales rep isn't readily available, whether it be a weekend or a rainy day or something and everybody's tied up, being able to have something there that clients can use and feel like they're not wasting their time. Or, as we discussed, using it to kind of help explain when somebody is waiting, they've purchased the vehicle, they're waiting to go into F&I, or they're waiting even to have the vehicle brought up, you can either collaboratively walk them through this or just have somebody say, hey, why don't you look at some of these videos and find out what you're most interested in, and take them through those how-to videos or allow them to kind of feel through and create their own journey by looking at the ones that most interest them. And certainly, again, that is showing you a quick picture of the inventory feeds that basically is allowing the kiosk to have all that information about any inventory, new and used, available on the kiosk. So when people just want to take a look to say, hey, what may be available, and some more detailed information about a particular car, again, perhaps maybe not with a sales agent or with a sales agent. Again, you kind of need to leave it up to the client to see what they want to do and how they want to interact with it. But these are all different ways that using touchscreen technology really can help you develop a better process and a better customer journey for your clients. So again, whether you're looking to create, a more, digitally exciting and tech-powered showroom, or just a newer, more updated collaborative process. I'm sure everyone's process has changed over the last few years, and as that quote from Auto Trader stated, it needs to even change more in the direction of what the clients want. So being able to give them tools and give them information is really what they're desiring. So if you can help create a digital experience for them that is exciting, that's really what's going to help you increase your overall revenues and sales. So that's what we help you do from ViewPoint, is help you design and implement that type of digital experience. And as Brandy also mentioned, training really is important. I mean, we know you all have seen many, many different types of sales tools out there. I had one client say that they've introduced 10 to 15 different sales tools out there, and whether or not their sales staff are actually using it, they were not really sure. So one of the things, again, this is showing our friend Brandon from Passport, is they wanted to be able to make sure that all of their sales presentations were very consistent, so everybody was hearing the same story when they came in to their dealership. So this can really help kind of improve the quality and the consistency of that sales presentation. And it also, again, can help you increase your service capabilities and selling more and more accessories. That certainly has been a big factor for a lot of people coming to us. They want to be able to highlight and showcase all the aspects of service. I mean, we all know that's where a lot of the revenue, the higher revenues actually come from. When everybody negotiates down the car price, that's really where you can make more of your revenue and more of your income is being able to sell those extra accessories, sell those extra service, increase your service hours, and using a kiosk is a new way of trying to do that. And additional, as we talked about too, being able to kind of use it as an off-site way of marketing. This is just showing it in a mall. Obviously, that's not next to a car, but being able to use this off-site to be able to increase kind of just overall brand awareness and your dealership awareness. I think this next slide is just kind of showing you an example, just so if you have not seen any of our overviews, these are examples of just different ones that we've created for different models. These are kind of just standard ones. We, again, highly customize each one for our client and really focus in. But you can see there's different formats, there's different looks, there's different feels, and that's one of the things that we really strive in being able to help you is design and implement the best scenario for your specific auto group or dealership. So that basically wraps up our webinar today, and we hope you have found this information helpful and informative, and hopefully you have been able to take away some ways of thinking out how you could implement this dealership and help where you may have pain points in trying to help increase your revenues. So if you all have any questions, we can open this now for questions.
All right, that was some great information. We are now in the question and answer portion of the webinar. Please feel free to submit your questions to the question box. All right, looks like we have some questions here. At a Toyota store like Passport, who is big, how many kiosks would a dealership need, especially on a Saturday?
Oh, I'll go ahead and take that. It's a great question. Generally, it depends. So what I normally do even before the sale of ViewPoint technology is I will go visit the dealership. I'll do a walkthrough. I'll recommend where the kiosk should sit at, how many you should have, where to put them. It's all about feng shui. It actually really is, because the hardware is a piece of furniture. I mean, it's a million different things, but you want to make sure that it's sitting in the appropriate place where there's traffic, where it's going to get the most usage. So generally, a large dealership like Passport Toyota would be 4. So 1 in the service department, 2 in the showroom floor, and then 1 in the entryway. And then Passport Nissan, they have 2. Because it's a smaller showroom, so you don't want to overdo it and put 4 kiosks in a small showroom. And the larger the dealership, the more kiosks. So it's always, the bigger the better. So bigger showroom, then you're going to have more kiosks.
All right, another question. The check-in center application is great for use on customer data capture. Assume for all customer capture, sales management must support the entry, and the kiosk is best at the front door entrance. Do you have any shared techniques and processes to assure before you walk away that the GM has provided best practices to gain captured info? And can management see via an interface of the screen customers' info captured in real time?
That's a very long question. I have to take it piece by piece.
Yeah, of course,
So
yeah.
go ahead and just read off the...
I'll repeat the question. Yeah. Do you have any shared techniques and processes to assure before you walk away that the GM is provided best practices to gain captured info? Yeah, of course.
Let me just answer that portion of it. So absolutely, that's part of the training and consulting, is making sure that the GM and sales management have a good handle on the best practices. That's what I go in, or that's what our team will go in and teach and train. You'll get a long list of best practices. So go ahead, the second part, Sean.
Yeah, the second part is, can management see via an interface of the screen customer info captured in real time?
Anne, do you understand that question?
Yeah, so they're basically saying once they enter that information, where does that information go? Yeah, that will basically, and we work with you all to determine exactly whether that's going straight to the GM or whether that's going to a BDC. We work with you to design, once that information is captured, where that is going. But that can definitely go to a GM, and then they'll be able to see, or wherever they choose, where that information goes, and they'll be able to see that right away. And make sure that the right information is captured, or making sure that that is connecting in directly with your CRM, that the right information is being connected and lined up.
All right, another question. Since most customers do not enter a dealership initially versus walking inventory, how did Passport gain gravitational pull of customers as soon as possible into the showroom?
Okay, so when a customer will walk into the showroom floor, then they have what you call the up rotation. So whoever is taking that up will approach the customer, and they'll begin talking with the customer. And one of the first things the sales agent will say is, "Oh, well, we have a kiosk over here. We'd really love to show you and talk or tell you about our dealership. Do you mind if we take a few minutes to do that?" And generally the customer will say, "Sure, no problem." And so then they'll both walk up to the kiosk together. So, and then on really busy days where there's a lot of customers in a showroom, then we're not hoping, we've seen it to where the customer will walk up and they'll self-check-in, or they'll go through and they'll interact with the kiosk on their own. But generally we want a sales agent with the customer at all times.
All right, this goes back to that real-time capture question. People are wondering, when exactly would it be captured?
I mean, when would the information be captured on the check-in screen? I guess that's kind of a hard question. You're not sure what they meant, maybe, but basically it's when I think they're taking them through the process, through that kind of welcome screen, is when they then introduce their dealership, talk about the dealership, why buy here, and then they say, "Hey, do you mind just doing a quick check-in with us?" And then that way the information can be logged in there. Or if you're using it as a self-login or self-check-in, that can be anywhere from the service department to the showroom. We have one client that's using it in their, kind of right next to their welcome center. So they'll come in, maybe be greeted by somebody, and then they'll say, sure, we'll have somebody to help you. Can you just do a quick check-in over here? So again, they feel that it's a easy way. People are used to it. I mean, I know I've got kids, and one of their dentists or orthodontists actually uses a check-in, and people are just used to it. They go over, they think it's cool to be able to go over and do a touch screen and check in, and all your information is there and gathered. So it really can be put in different aspects within the cover flow, but what we have found that works well is kind of in that initial welcome screen where it has some of the kind of introductory material is where that check-in can be, and then the process that Passport's using is certainly as a part of that initial process, right after kind of their overview about their dealership, they then ask someone to do that check-in.
Okay, let me just add a little bit there. So when the customer puts in their information in the check-in center, it immediately goes to the CRM. Then the CRM will do a quick search to find out if that customer is pre-existing, and the GM can, or the sales agent or whoever can find out what their history is with the dealership, so on and so forth. So it happens immediately, and I think that's what the question is about. I think it all happens simultaneously in real time.
All right. All right. Another question. Does the check-in tool integrate with all CRMs?
Yes, I believe so, yes. I will have to double check to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it does.
Right, and that's one of the things with our solution. I mean, because again, we're both user experience design engineers, or I should say designers, but our team also are custom software development engineers, and that's really what we've done for many years, is being able to to do that type of custom development. So we basically, as we've been working with different clients and different customers in the auto industry, when somebody comes to us and says, hey, this is the particular CRM that I use, can you interact with it? We can do that. We can customize that. So again, we don't have a right out of the box solution. We really do highly customize it for everybody. I mean, there's some basic information that's certainly available and that we can pull down, but we really try to customize each solution for our clients and be able to find out what CRM they may be using, and being able, if we haven't already done that development, we can work with them to get that up and running fairly quickly.
All right, another question. Are you seeing an increased interest in equipping the parts and accessory department with a vehicle customization kiosk, or is this more for new vehicle sales?
I think it's for both. I mean, I think certainly when people are using it to highlight, I mean, we have more and more people saying, hey, can you help us create what we call our cover flows, kind of what you see on the touch screen. But when we create the cover flows, they really want to highlight those accessories and additional parts, whether they're manufacturer parts or even third-party parts. And people are doing that, both for pre-owned cars. I mean, that's something that they, can be added to, whether it's accessories like roof racks or, tow packages, whether it's, any even type of information from F&I, and being able to kind of use that information on the kiosks to be able to, again, show that information to them, get them more familiar with it, and then add that on, whether it's, additional services, through F&I, or additional actual parts and accessories, both on new and used cars. But we definitely have a lot of people requesting, and we've been doing more and more development around those accessories and parts for helping, create a personalized solution for the client.
All right, another question. Is the email address in the check-in tool required?
No, you can customize it if you don't want email addresses. I don't know why a dealer wouldn't, but if there's information there that you're not interested in, then we just customize it to exactly the way the dealer wants it.
We can, I mean, again, we customize that field, so you can have as much or as little. I have one client that I'm working with now that they want to be able to have their phone numbers, their emails, and then how did you hear about us? How did you find out about us? They want to be able to track that back to and find out, where either it's their ad spend or any of even their community involvement, how do people find it, out and come to their showroom. So a lot of that information, I think, is available for you to customize, and whether you make that required to fill in or just optional, that's up to you and what you think your clients would be comfortable doing.
right, another question. How do we know what salesperson it is if it dedupes?
No, I think we'll need to check with that. So you
Can
wanting to
Right.
go ahead.
Can you repeat that question again? I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Somebody was wondering, how do they know what salesperson used it if it dedupes?
Dedupes. So I mean, I think they're saying from like an analytical, like the analytics that we run on the actual viewpoint. I don't know if we can actually tell which specific rep has used it, because there's no way that we're saying that sales rep John or sales rep Sally have to sign in to use it. So I don't know if we have a way of monitoring specifically which sales or service rep actually interacts with the kiosk. Or we use Google Analytics to kind of gather a lot of the information about what's being used and what's being shown on the kiosk, but I don't know if we can actually tell a specific if a specific rep is actually using it.
But again, if that's really important to the GM to have that capability, then I mean, we're a technology company. We can build, we can see how long it would take to build that out and to customize it that way. It's just we would have to check with the engineers.
All right, another question. Have you ever set up a kiosk in a wheel and tire retail location? If so, has the venture been successful?
Sean, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, of course. Have you ever set up a kiosk in a wheel and tire retail location? And if so, has the venture been successful?
We've not done that yet, but that's something that we could definitely do. If it's, I mean, we're not only in the automotive industry. We branch out. We've done all kinds of different retail, and so I don't see why that would be any different. If it's just a tire and wheel location, we would just create a cover flow based on the information that you want to be shown to your customers. So,
all right, you got a couple. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add that basically anything that is customizable, we can do it. We can build it.
All right, I'm going to do a couple more questions here. Does the kiosk have an integrated camera to capture customer for familiarity and recognition at a potential revisit?
So again, we're talking about software and design and implementation and being able to create it. That's not something that we've done, but something that is a possibility.
Correct. I know a few people have brought that up of interest, and the capability is there. It's capability that we could implement if somebody were interested in doing that and working with us to to invest in that solution for sure.
All right, this looks like it'll be the last question. Does this work on mobile devices?
Yeah, so our technology is based on, so the actual software that runs the ViewPoint technology is based on Windows. So our ViewPoint software can be based on any number of different devices, whether it's a large, screen, 70-inch screen that may be mounted or, on a stand somewhere, all the way down to mobile devices. So right now we have options for the dealerships to go from large screens to some of the freestanding solutions like you saw in some of the pictures during the webinar, and all the way down to a smart pad device, a service tablet, or developing that onto a mobile device. Yes, we have that capability because we've been doing that for a number of years for outside of the automotive industry.
All right, actually, it looks like we got a couple more questions that just came in. Where does all the information on the kiosk sit? Is it being streamed through Wi-Fi?
That's it.
Go ahead, Brandy, you want to take that?
Sure. So it's actually through both. Wi-Fi. We use the Wi-Fi to update the monitors on a nightly basis, and then, but basically it's all, to use a crude analogy, it's like a brain within the brain, so it's a computer within the computer, and that's what makes our solution really unique, is that it's very crisp and clean. There's no lag time because it isn't on Wi-Fi, and and that's what makes our program really amazing, because you don't have to worry about anything crashing, or it's just very clean and swipes through very fast, lightning speed fast.
Great.
Yeah. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just saying, all the software that we create, all that information, the assets, the pictures, the videos, the inventory feeds, all of that is stored locally on the actual kiosk itself. So, to expand on kind of what Brandy was saying, we use the Wi-Fi, so we need to have Wi-Fi access on the kiosk, because that's how we download and upload information back and forth. That's how we gather the analytics, all of that. But the actual information that's part of the actual cover flow actually sits and resides directly on the kiosk. So you're not having that lag time that she was saying if something was being streamed. The Wi-Fi is just used for us to push and pull information and updates, which we schedule, on a nightly basis, usually, over the evening, or early morning hours, to have all of that done in the background. But all that information is right there on the kiosk.
All right, last question. After the purchase of the ViewPoint kiosk, how long will it take to have them in my showroom?
Generally takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get the ViewPoint kiosk customized and installed in your dealership. Generally 3 to 4 weeks, and the part that takes the longest is designing the cover flow, because we spend many hours going through it. We do dry runs. We will have a conference call with the GM and anybody else in the dealership to make sure that the cover flow is exactly the way that they want it. So really, that's the longest time. It's very similar to building out a brand new website. So you can expect 3 to 4 weeks.
All right, great. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and thank you to ViewPoint Kiosks, Brandy, and Ann for some great content. To view this webinar on demand and view your Digital Dealer webinars, please visit digitaldealer.com/webinars. Thank you, and have a great day.